sustainable diets, do you think that government is giving it priority, looking at how they are um, giving out resources?
I think it's important that we realize that there is need for more continuation in terms of budget allocation to ensure that sustainable diet is a critical part. And what do I mean by that? Here in Zambia, or if you look at my constituency, there in Kembe constituency, which is not too far from Lusaka province, yet it's one of the most undeveloped areas, and yet on the farming end, it is one of the high farming areas. Really, Kembe constituency does not only feed the people of Kembe, but the people of Zambia. But you would find that when we went around, when CSO-SUN came with their organization, CSO-SUN, when they came to Kembe, we went to the agro dealers. What we found on the ground was that the agro dealers had maize, and much of it was white maize. So indeed, you can see that there is still gaps that needs to be worked on if sustainable diet will have to be improved in our country. And you may also want to know that about 40% of our people are undernourished. 40% of Zambia's population, especially under the age of 5, they are stunted. And this has not only an implication on how they develop physically, but also in terms of mental development, and which affects their ability to perform in school. And if they are not going to perform well, you can be rest assured that they are not going to be good students, and that has an implication on the human development of a country. So what is at stake is the well-being of the country, because these young people, not only will they not perform well in terms of school, but it affects them as they start to look for jobs. So these are the implications, and this is why, as APCON members, which is really the coming in of all members of parliament, regardless of political affiliation, to discuss the issue of a sustainable diet. This is so critical for our country. And I think also it's to add on that Zambia, for the longest time, we have indeed been a country which grew sorghum and millet, and other carbohydrates. We know that we love carbohydrates. But can we ensure that the government, when it's talking about crop diversification, because right now we are a monocropping system where it's only about white maize in particular. But we are saying, can we ensure that FRA can have in place where it can encourage farmers, for example, who grow sorghum or millet, to not only buy it from the farmers, but to ensure also it is distributed back to the people? Because we're talking of also having a plate that is diversified in terms of what we eat. But if I remember correctly, in Lenje we say, "Amumpe shima inene akaswiko komwi." What it means is that as long as the shima is big, and I'll have the little fish, the small, it's like in the family of tilapia. And people eat things like that. You also know that we eat locusts in Kembe, for example. So you have this big shima, and you have a small plate of either mbeva or locusts. You find that this hasn't been helping our people. And lately, you have heard of people just falling off. That's what they call it. Say, "Whoa, we just had someone died because they just fall off." Well, what is happening is that non-communicable diseases are on the increase, because obesity is on the increase. Why? First of all, we are inactive, we are not exercising, some of us are driving, but even those in the villages, they really don't have the sustainable diet or the diversified diet, so it's not balanced, and in their end, you find that diseases such as diabetes is on the increase. You'll be amazed that even some of the cancer is attributed to lack of food diversification. So this is really a difficult situation we are in, and a time bomb if not all efforts are put together. This is where, as members of parliament, we are saying it's important that the budget reflects the importance of this issue, so that the allocation of crop diversification is put in place. The Ministry of Agriculture not only ensures that the inputs are brought on time, but they are also diversified in nature. But at the end of the day, the farmer will be asking, how will I make my money, apart from feeding my own family? So can we ensure that not only FRA, but other markets are also put in place? The other thing I'd love to add is the issue of sensitizing our communities. We need civil societies. We need members of parliament. As we go back, this is what we have committed as APCON, that we begin to raise these issues in our communities. Because people didn't just fall off and they died. It's because they have non-communicable diseases. And these range, you know, there are so many diseases that come because of lack of nutrition or because we are undernourished. And so these are the issues that we are saying, can we lift them up? When you look at even the issue of hypertension, you know, they are all related. I mean, it took me time to realize that some of the cancer issues are actually related to the lack of diversity on our plates when we eat. So can we see some greens? You know, I remember CSO-SUN came to Kembe constituency, where different farmers within Kembe constituency, and it's one of the largest constituencies in Zambia, a rural constituency, and where farming is actually one of the biggest activities in our area. They brought different foods. They brought legumes, you know. They brought things like sorghum and millet. They brought greens beyond the cabbage and the rep. You know, these are the things that we are saying they have really a nutritional value, and they are important for our bodies, not only for children, but also us who are in the middle age, for example, and the adults, the elders, we should say. I think for me, it has been said that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. That's very critical to underscore. And that is why the work of APCON as members of parliament, but also the alliance that CSO-SUN is part of, is very critical at this time, because we used to think that diseases such as, or should I say conditions such as obesity, are Western diseases. But today, you can bear me witness that many of us are eating fast foods. Many of us are still taking, a lot of our intake is highly, you know, content of carbohydrates. This has been something that we have taken for a long time. But there are also politics involved. I think it's important that people realize that where there is food, there are politics. If you remember very well, when late Mwanawasa was president, he had banned the incoming of imported what? Yellow maize. That became a heightened political issue. So I think what we are saying also, can we rise up? Because people are dying. We are dying. Can we rise up as a people? Can we rise up as members of parliament to use the platforms that we have? I have access to over 165,000 people in my constituency. And many of the farmers who are doing this small farming are women. And yet we see that the woman is also the one who takes care of the children, who some of them are undernourished. So these are critical issues. I also want to add that when we had